Pain is an inevitable part of the human experience. Whether it is physical, emotional, or psychological, pain is something that every person will encounter at some point in their lives. For many, pain is seen as an enemy, a force to be avoided, feared, and resisted. However, from a Stoic perspective, pain is not something to be dreaded, but rather something to be embraced and even grateful for. The Stoics, a school of ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, believed that pain and adversity are essential for personal growth, resilience, and the development of virtue. In this essay, we will explore the Stoic philosophy of pain, why it is valuable, and how we can learn to be grateful for the challenges and hardships that life throws our way. The nature of pain, a Stoic understanding. To understand why the Stoics believed we should be grateful for pain, it is important to first understand their view of the nature of pain. The Stoics believed that pain is not inherently good or bad, rather, it is our judgment of pain that determines its value. According to Stoic philosophy, external events, such as physical injury, loss, or failure, are indifferent. What matters is how we respond to these events. Pain, in this sense, is an opportunity to exercise virtue, develop resilience, and cultivate wisdom. The Stoics distinguished between two types of pain, physical pain and emotional pain. Physical pain refers to the sensations of discomfort or suffering that arise from injury, illness, or other bodily harm. Emotional pain, on the other hand, refers to the psychological distress that arises from loss, rejection, or other forms of adversity. While both types of pain are unpleasant, the Stoics believe that they serve a purpose in our lives. Pain, in all its forms, is a teacher. It challenges us, tests our limits, and forces us to confront our weaknesses. In doing so, pain helps us to grow and become better versions of ourselves. The Stoic view of adversity, amor fati. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the concept of amor fati, or love of fate. This idea, which was championed by the Roman Stoic philosopher Epictetus, encourages us to embrace everything that happens to us, both the good and the bad, as necessary and beneficial. According to this view, pain and adversity are not random or meaningless, rather, they are part of the natural order of the universe. By accepting and even loving our fate, we can find peace and contentment, even in the face of suffering. The Stoics believe that adversity is essential for personal growth. Just as a muscle must be stressed and challenged in order to grow stronger, so too must the mind and spirit be tested in order to develop resilience and virtue. Pain, in this sense, is a form of training. It prepares us for the challenges of life and helps us to become more capable, compassionate, and wise. Without pain, we would remain stagnant and unchallenged, never reaching our full potential. The role of pain in developing virtue. For the Stoics, the ultimate goal of life is to live in accordance with virtue. Virtue, in Stoic philosophy, refers to qualities such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. These virtues are not innate, they must be cultivated through practice and effort. Pain and adversity play a crucial role in this process. They provide us with opportunities to exercise virtue and to demonstrate our commitment to living a good and meaningful life. Consider, for example, the virtue of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the ability to act in spite of fear. Pain and adversity often evoke fear, but they also provide us with the opportunity to confront and overcome that fear. By facing our pain head-on, we develop courage and resilience. Similarly, pain can help us to cultivate wisdom. When we experience pain, we are forced to reflect on our lives, our values, and our priorities. This process of reflection can lead to greater self-awareness and understanding, which are essential components of wisdom. Pain also helps us to develop compassion and empathy. When we experience pain, we become more aware of the suffering of others. This awareness can inspire us to act with kindness and generosity, and to work towards alleviating the pain of others. In this way, pain can be a powerful force for good in the world. The Stoic practice of negative visualization. One of the key practices in Stoicism is negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum. This practice involves imagining the worst-case scenarios in life, such as the loss of a loved one, financial ruin, or serious illness, and reflecting on how we would cope with these challenges. The purpose of negative visualization is not to dwell on the negative, but rather to prepare ourselves for the inevitable hardships of life and to cultivate gratitude for what we have. By imagining the worst, we become more resilient and better equipped to handle adversity when it arises. We also develop a deeper appreciation for the present moment and the blessings in our lives. Negative visualization reminds us that pain and suffering are a natural part of life, and that we have the strength and resources to endure them. This practice helps us to shift our perspective on pain, from seeing it as something to be feared and avoided, to seeing it as something that can be managed and even embraced. The Stoic view of control, the dichotomy of control. Another important concept in Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, which was famously articulated by Epictetus. According to this principle, there are some things that are within our control, such as our thoughts, beliefs, and actions, and there are other things that are outside of our control, such as external events, the actions of others, and the natural world. The key to living a good and fulfilling life, according to the Stoics, is to focus on what we can control and to accept what we cannot control. Pain, in many cases, falls into the category of things that are outside of our control. We cannot always prevent physical injury, illness, or emotional suffering. However, we can control how we respond to pain. We can choose to resist and resent it, or we can choose to accept it and learn from it. By focusing on our response to pain, rather than the pain itself, we can find a sense of peace and empowerment, even in the midst of suffering. The Stoic perspective on suffering and meaning. One of the most profound insights of Stoicism is the idea that suffering can be meaningful. The Stoics believe that pain and adversity are not meaningless or random, rather, they are opportunities for growth and self-improvement. When we face pain with courage and resilience, we give our suffering a purpose. We transform it from something that is merely endured into something that is meaningful and valuable. This perspective is particularly relevant in the context of modern psychology. Research has shown that people who are able to find meaning in their suffering are more resilient and better able to cope with adversity. This concept, known as post-traumatic growth, suggests that pain and suffering can lead to positive changes in a person's life, such as increased strength, greater appreciation for life, and a deeper sense of purpose. The Stoics understood this concept long before modern psychology. The Stoics, with their profound insights into human nature and the nature of suffering, understood the transformative power of pain long before modern psychology began to explore the concept of post-traumatic growth. While contemporary psychologists have only recently begun to study how individuals can grow and thrive in the aftermath of trauma, the Stoics had already laid the groundwork for this understanding over 2 millennia ago. They believed that pain and suffering are not merely obstacles to be avoided or endured, but essential components of a meaningful and fulfilling life. By embracing pain and finding meaning in it, the Stoics argued, we can cultivate resilience, wisdom, and virtue, ultimately leading to a deeper sense of fulfillment. The Stoic perspective on pain is rooted in the idea that suffering is not inherently negative. Instead, it is our judgment of suffering, our perception of it as bad or unfair, that determines its impact on us. The Stoics taught that by reframing our understanding of pain, we can transform it into a source of strength and growth. This idea aligns closely with modern psychological theories, such as Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, which posits that finding meaning in suffering is key to psychological resilience. Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, famously wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that even in the most horrific circumstances, individuals can find purpose and meaning, which in turn helps them endure and overcome their suffering. The Stoics would argue that pain is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather something to be embraced as a teacher. Pain challenges us, forces us to confront our limitations, and pushes us to grow beyond them. It is through this process of confronting and overcoming adversity that we develop the virtues of courage, patience, and wisdom. In this way, the Stoics saw pain not as an enemy, but as an ally in the pursuit of a good and meaningful life. The Stoic practice of gratitude. Gratitude is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it is deeply intertwined with the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. The Stoics believe that we should be grateful for everything that happens to us, including pain and adversity. This may seem counterintuitive at first glance. After all, why should we be grateful for something that causes us suffering? But from a Stoic perspective, gratitude is not about denying the reality of pain or pretending that it doesn't hurt. Rather, it is about recognizing the value that pain can bring to our lives. When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have. We become more aware of the blessings in our lives, even in the midst of hardship. This shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering. Instead of dwelling on the negative aspects of our situation, we begin to see the opportunities for growth and learning that pain presents. Gratitude helps us to reframe our experiences of adversity, allowing us to see them not as purely negative, but as valuable lessons that can help us become stronger and wiser. The Stoics believe that gratitude is not just a fleeting feeling, but a deliberate practice. It is something that we must actively cultivate, even, and especially, in the face of hardship. By practicing gratitude, we train ourselves to focus on the positive aspects of our lives, even when things are difficult. This practice helps us to develop a more resilient mindset, enabling us to endure pain with greater patience and equanimity. For example, when faced with a painful experience, such as the loss of a loved one, a Stoic might choose to focus on the gratitude they feel for having had that person in their life, rather than dwelling on the pain of their absence. This shift in perspective does not eliminate the pain, but it does help to mitigate its impact, allowing the individual to find peace and contentment even in the midst of their suffering. The Stoic view of impermanence. Another key concept in Stoicism is the idea of impermanence. The Stoics believe that everything in life is transient and subject to change. This includes both the good and the bad. Pain and suffering, like all things, are temporary. They will pass, just as joy and happiness will pass. Understanding the impermanence of pain can help us to endure it with greater patience and equanimity. When we recognize that pain is temporary, we can approach it with a sense of perspective and detachment. We can remind ourselves that this too shall pass, and that we have the strength to endure it. This understanding can be incredibly comforting in the midst of suffering. It helps us to see our pain as a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of our lives, rather than as an insurmountable obstacle. The Stoics also believed that the impermanence of life should inspire us to live fully and authentically. Because life is short and uncertain, we should make the most of every moment. We should strive to live in accordance with our values and to make a positive impact on the world. Pain and adversity, in this sense, are reminders of the preciousness and fragility of life. They encourage us to live with intention and purpose. For example, when faced with a painful experience, such as a serious illness, a Stoic might choose to focus on the impermanence of their suffering. They might remind themselves that their pain is temporary, and that they have the opportunity to make the most of the time they have left. This perspective can help them to endure their suffering with greater patience and resilience, and to find meaning and purpose in their experience. The interconnectedness of gratitude and impermanence. The Stoic practices of gratitude and the understanding of impermanence are deeply interconnected. When we recognize that everything in life is temporary, we are more likely to appreciate the present moment and the blessings in our lives. This appreciation, in turn, fosters a sense of gratitude. By practicing gratitude, we become more aware of the impermanence of life, and we are inspired to live more fully and authentically. For example, when we experience a moment of joy or happiness, the Stoic practice of gratitude encourages us to savor that moment and to appreciate it fully. At the same time, the understanding of impermanence reminds us that this moment will not last forever, and that we should make the most of it while we can. This dual awareness helps us to live more mindfully and to find meaning and purpose in every moment of our lives. Conclusion. The Stoic perspective on pain, gratitude, and impermanence offers a powerful framework for understanding and enduring the challenges of life. By embracing pain as a teacher, practicing gratitude in the face of adversity, and recognizing the impermanence of all things, we can cultivate resilience, wisdom, and inner peace. These practices help us to reframe our experiences of suffering, allowing us to see them not as obstacles to be avoided, but as opportunities for growth and learning. In a world that often seeks to avoid pain at all costs, the Stoic approach offers a refreshing and empowering alternative. It reminds us that pain is an inevitable part of life, but that it is also a valuable teacher. By embracing pain with gratitude and understanding its impermanence, we can transform our suffering into a source of strength and meaning. In doing so, we can live more fulfilling and meaningful lives, even in the face of adversity.